Welcome. I am Michelle Rosenberg, and this is Comprehensive Empowerment. In high-information environments, flawed reasoning represents the most persistent threat to decision-making. These sophisticated sophisms operate across multiple invisible vectors, infiltrating our thinking through structural flaws rather than simple errors in fact. Identifying and neutralizing these manipulations requires a systematic approach. We can map every cognitive threat into a strict taxonomy of 8 distinct families. Analyzing the structural attack surfaces of how an argument is built provides a significant advantage over a simple evaluation of whether a statement feels true or false. The mechanical failures of reasoning begin with Family 1, logical sophisms. These occur when the fundamental structure of the argument breaks down and the conclusion fails to follow mathematically from the premises. This structural collapse is evident in the affirmation of the consequent. If it rains, the street gets wet. Because the street is wet, we assume it rained. The logic fails. The street could be wet due to a broken pipe or a passing truck. Neutralizing this requires training the mind to ask if the conclusion strictly follows from the preceding points, regardless of how plausible that conclusion might appear. Family 2 comprises causality sophisms. This vector exploits the brain's pattern-matching reflex, which frequently confuses a simple correlation with actual causation. The post hoc fallacy assumes event X caused event Y simply because it happened first. For example, ice cream sales and drowning incidents often rise together. One does not cause the other. A hidden third variable, rising summer temperatures, drives both trends. Effective evaluation requires intentionally isolating the invisible architecture of an argument from the actual subject matter being discussed. Internal traps originate within our own cognitive processing. Family 3, cognitive biases, consists of fast-thinking mental shortcuts that distort reality to reduce processing time. The availability heuristic demonstrates this distortion. We falsely inflate the statistical probability of an event based on how easily we can recall it. Vivid, memorable occurrences visually overwhelm the massive field of statistical reality in our assessment. To counter this, rely on global statistical data rather than personal impressions or isolated anecdotes. Family 4 involves emotional sophisms. This vector uses fear, pity, or ridicule to short-circuit critical reasoning and trigger instinctive reactions. An appeal to fear uses emotional intensity to mask a weak premise. By activating a reflex for protection, the communicator bypasses the need for a solid logical foundation. Our own biology provides a highly effective vector for manipulation. Logic remains invisible unless we consciously strip emotional intensity away from an argument before analyzing it. External manipulations shift the focus away from the evidence. Family 5, authority sophisms, replaces empirical proof with the perceived status, tradition, or credentials of a source. False authority and false attribution use the weight of a famous name to validate unrelated claims. This tactic attempts to close a debate by leveraging an individual's image rather than providing relevant evidence. Neutralizing this requires a deliberate separation of the speaker's credibility from the structural validity of their argument. Family 6 covers diversion sophisms. These are tactical avoidances designed to move the discussion away from the core question while maintaining the illusion of engagement. The red herring and whataboutism force the audience to lose track of the original premise. These diversions move the energy of the exchange toward irrelevant side topics, preventing the discussion from reaching a conclusion. Achieving clarity in an exchange requires a disciplined refusal to follow diversions. Contextual traps manipulate the environment of the argument. Family 7, ambiguity sophisms, uses the language itself as a trap by leaving critical terms undefined or shifting their meaning mid-argument. Equivocation relies on this linguistic shift. A word may describe an origin at the start of a sentence and a positive value by the end. The reasoning appears to hold only because the operative terms are physically mutating during the process. Family 8, framing sophisms, is the most insidious factor. It modifies the perception of facts before the reasoning process ever begins. Identical datasets produce opposite conclusions based on what is visually or conceptually excluded. A frame that restricts the vision to a 10% failure rate dictates the outcome of the analysis before a single argument is made. Tactics like cherry picking or the no true Scotsman fallacy Protect a fragile thesis by constantly shifting the boundaries of the dataset to exclude contradictory examples. Controlling the initial definitions and the visual frame of the data inevitably dictates the final conclusion. These 8 sectors form a comprehensive model for defense. Sound reasoning requires vigilance across mechanical, internal, external, and contextual fronts. By internalizing this taxonomy, you move from a passive consumer of information to an active evaluator of truth. Empower your mind, ignite your impact. I am Michelle Rosenberg, and this has been a production of Comprehensive Empowerment. Thank you for watching.